What's up, guys? Neil Orfield here to talk a little Underdog NBA Playoff Best Ball. While you're coming in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. If you watch any of my late season NFL content, you know I'm a little obsessed with Underdog Best Ball. I loved it all NFL season. I was tracking it very closely towards the end of the NFL season. And then during the playoffs, I became even more obsessed doing all the playoff best ball and even the weekly best ball stuff in not best ball, the weekly contests on Underdog. I just was playing Underdog constantly. So I was pretty excited to learn last week that Stokastic has a new partnership with Underdog, which comes with a great offer for new users. You can get a 100% first deposit match bonus up to $100 by clicking the link in the description of this video or using promo code Stokastic. Underdog is your one-stop shop for all of your best ball, fantasy, and pick'em prop needs. But again, in this video, I'm going to be talking about NBA playoff best ball. We are going to be doing a lot of best ball content or Underdog content coming up. So let us know in the comments for this video. Let me know what type of content you want us to do related to best ball. I don't think I'm going to do a draft in this one, but certainly open to just doing some live drafts. I always enjoy tracking when other people are doing live drafts. So if you want to see us do some live drafts for best ball or just like the daily contest, let us know because I would be happy to do them. For now, though, I'm just going to look at the biggest contest that we have for the NBA playoff best ball, kind of go over how it works and give you a couple of strategy tips. I am admittedly fairly new to NBA playoff best ball. I've consumed a little bit of content about it. I've done a couple drafts just to kind of, get in the mindset, kind of see how the drafts go. So I have a little bit of an idea how it's going, but we're all fairly new to this. This is still best ball is still, kind of a new game, and especially like playoff best ball, NBA playoff best ball. These are not contests that have been very popular for very long. So we're all sort of learning as we go still. So I'll give you my thoughts, but these things can change over time. So I'll give you my initial thoughts and show you kind of how my first drafts went. But we'll start with just going over how this contest works. So this is a contest you can see here has 56,000 potential entrants in it. It's a $10 buy-in. This is the dance contest for the playoffs. One nice thing about NBA playoffs versus NFL. So it's a similar format. So like it's round by round. There are 4 rounds of the NBA playoffs. The fourth round, of course, being just the championship. It's similar to NFL in that you have to advance each round. You need to make lineups that are going to be good enough that they can advance through round 1, round 2, round 3. But then you also want to make lineups that are going to be able to field hopefully a full roster in the championship round. So you need basically 5 players from the 2 teams that make it to the championship. Most likely that would be what I would anticipate making in here. So it's a little bit tricky because you got to kind of figure out who is likely to make the playoffs, or sorry, who's likely to make the finals. At this stage, I guess we still don't even know who's going to make the playoffs necessarily. We won't know till after the play-in game, which is not part of this contest. It's a play-in game, not in this contest at all. We start after the play-in game. But it's easier than NFL in that there is no round 1 bye. We don't have to worry about, like we just saw in the most recent NFL playoff best ball, the 2 teams that had the first week bye, the Chiefs and the Eagles, made the Super Bowl. So you basically had to pick 5 players from those 2 teams and then just a bunch of one-offs or ways to get through round 1 without 5 of your top picks, which some people, not many, were able to do it, but that was tough. But you don't have to worry about that in NBA because there is no bye week, so you don't have to worry about round 1. Everybody you pick, assuming they're on teams that make the playoffs and they're healthy, they're going to be available for round 1. But then it's more tricky than regular season in that you need players from teams that advance to round 2. So like in round 2, if all of your players from round 1 crush it, you move on, but they all lose, you don't have players in the second round. So you really have to balance getting through the early rounds and having enough players in the championship, which is kind of a fun game to play, a fun little puzzle that we play here in playoff best ball. But I'll go through this contest a little bit. So it's everybody picks, so it's 10 rounds. So that means you get 10 players on your team. There are 6 teams in the draft. So 60 players total will be drafted in each of these drafts, 30 seconds per pick. They don't have the 8-hour clock on these ones. The contest will be going through April 15th or just until it fills. I think that's I think we've covered the more important aspects of the basic tournament breakdown, but as you can see here, 100,000 to first, 40,000 to second, 20,000 to third. Pretty standard payout structure. And you can see, these are the rounds you need to get through. to win the contest. Scoring is the same as FanDuel, point per block, 3 points per block or steal, just like on FanDuel. -1 for a turnover, like on FanDuel, and then of course rebounds, points, the same as FanDuel, and assists, the same as FanDuel as well. The roster construction, this is where it gets kind of interesting. So you only have to have in each round 1 guard, 1 big, and 1 wing, and then you get 2 flex players, and then of course your 5 players who are not among your highest scoring are on your bench. You don't get points for those players, but in each round you get points for your top scoring guard, big, and wing, along with 2 flex players. Kind of an interesting format. Also interesting in NBA. One thing that's different than NFL, it's each round you don't just get 1 game. Some of these teams might have just 4 games in the first round, whereas others could have up to 7. So that's going to make a pretty big difference in, the scores that players put up in each round. It's just how many games they have available. So something to keep in mind as we go. Okay, I think we covered all of the basic rules, and then I already clicked this all rules will take you to a little bit more information, and I just wanted to go over how it works in terms of advancing. So round one, it is, you draft with 6 people. In round one, you're just with those 6 people. At the end of round one, the top 1 person from those 6 advances to round two, where you will then be competing against a group of 12 players in round two. In round two, then you'll be competing against those 12. The top 2 then will move on to round 3. You'll again be competing with 12 different people. The top 2 move on to the championship, where it's going to be a 260 person final competing for that top spot. And of course, we don't just have that 100,000 to first, but we've got anybody who advances past the first round will win at least $10. So they'll at least get their money back, but then you can move up pretty quickly. And in the final is where you get the real money if you get your team to the championship. So that's where you want to have hopefully at least 5 players so you can get up here instead of falling down back here where the prizes aren't so great. So anyway, it's a fun little puzzle that we're playing here. I have done a couple drafts. So I'll tell you my general strategy is, obviously I'm trying to think about who is going to make it to the finals, because that's where the big money comes in. I'm not just trying to, turn my $10 into $20. I'm hoping to turn my $10 into $100,000. And to do that, you're probably going to need 5 players in the final and 5 players who all do well in the NBA finals in terms of scoring. So one of the first places I look, I just search NBA playoff odds, and a couple of resources kind of give you an idea of the likelihood of different NBA teams making it to the finals. So you can see here, if you in the Eastern Conference, Basketball Reference gives these are the odds of winning the conference and then making it to the finals. So Celtics leading here 29%, Cavs 27%, Bucks 18, Sixers 14, etc., etc. And then Western Conference, you can look at the same thing. Nuggets have the highest odds, 29%, followed by the Grizzlies 25, Sacramento 14, Suns 14, and then it drops off a cliff. So that's sort of interesting, just to get you kind of want to have an idea going in who is likeliest to make the finals. And then 538, you can see here, chance of making the finals, just starting with the Bucks. They have the Bucks with a 37% chance. I'm not sure how updated these are, like, or what they factor in exactly, because I have to imagine the Grizzlies, 25% with John Morant possibly out for the rest of the season. We don't really know what the situation is there. It's kind of hard to quantify that. And then Brandon Clark, I believe, is out for the rest of the season as well. So some things, it's kind of hard to know what they are including there, but this at least gives you an idea of the teams that you're going to want to be taking players from, the teams that have the higher likelihood of making the finals. So, and it's reflected in the ADPs of these players as well. The top 2 players off the board, they're also, of course, 2 of the best fantasy producers at the game, but it's Giannis and Jokic are 2 of the top players off the board. You would then expect Luka to be third. He was probably the third highest scoring player, but he's not. He's dropped down the board a little bit just because the Mavs have a much lower shot of making the final. So it is reflected in the ADPs, the likelihood of these players making it to the finals. But that's one thing you're going to want to look at. You maybe keep looking at this before you do drafts each day, because these odds change with breaking news every day. So something to keep in mind, just the likelihood of teams making it to the finals. And I'll just take a quick look at a couple teams that I made. So I've done just 2 drafts so far, and I thought they went okay. I don't know if they went, I'm still kind of deciding how great I think they are. So this is the very first draft I did, and I think in some ways it went well, in some ways it went I'm questioning some of my decisions. So the first pick I got, so Giannis went first. I had the second pick. I was pretty lucky. I got Jokic with the second pick. Now from there, this is where it gets interesting though. So it comes back to me, and I went with two more Nuggets players at the turn, which it's great in terms of, like I said, I'm trying to make teams that can have at least 5 players in the finals. So it makes it really easy to have 3 players from the Nuggets right away. Then I can go focus on some Eastern Conference teams. The trouble there, though, is just looking at the ADPs. I worry that this is going to be a very common build. So I see Jamal Murray has an ADP of 12. I took him at 11. Jokic often goes first. So then it would make sense. A lot of people are taking Jokic first. They're taking Jamal Murray 12th. And then they're taking, I guess I reached a little bit on Aaron Gordon by taking him with the 14th pick. But I kind of imagine, because it's so easy to do, that this build is not that uncommon, starting with Jokic, Murray, and Gordon. But then when I look at like what else could I have done, I suppose I could have taken Middleton here before it got back to Bandito, and started building like a Denver Milwaukee final kind of thing. That wouldn't have been a bad idea. I think that's something I could have considered doing. Is taking Middleton here instead of Murray. I actually like what Bandito did here, because they could have taken. So they had Giannis. They could have taken Middleton and Drew Holiday. They instead went Giannis to Middleton and DeAndre Ayton right away, which helps just in terms of, maybe getting a little bit off the most popular kinds of builds, but you're also building Eastern Conference, Western Conference right away. So I kind of like what they did there, but I don't know. So that's my thought with my first draft is, okay, looking at the start, I like it. It's a good start. Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. I just worry that it's going to be a popular kind of build with those three. And then from there, the way I built it out, so I took those 3 from the Nuggets right away. At that point, I've already kind of planted my flag that the Nuggets are going to be my team that I'm picking to win the Western Conference. So then from there, I can sprinkle in Eastern Conference teams and say, okay, I think these teams have a shot of making the finals. Now, Milwaukee, obviously, uh, kind of an obvious one. They're a team that looks pretty good in terms of their odds. So I got Bobby Portis here, my first non-Denver player, and then I took Julius Randle on the comeback. So building out Milwaukee and the Knicks. Obviously, the Knicks not as likely, but you can kind of build in some of those less likely scenarios as well. Coming around, took another Knicks player, Jalen Brunson, and then I started my Miami build, another team that not extremely likely to make the finals. We've got, looks like, a 3% chance here of making the finals. The Knicks have 3%, so taking some long shots there. But I've also got the Bucks in there with the 37%. Maybe the likeliest scenario here would be likeliest finals that I could build here would be my Nuggets stack with Milwaukee. And you can see here, I've got just one player, just Bobby Portis from Milwaukee. I ended up making it easy on myself by taking Kentavious Caldwell Pope late so that I could have any Eastern Conference team I have. I already got 4 Nuggets players, so I just need one. It's one of those things that it's so easy to do, but maybe not necessarily the best idea to take 4 players from one team. It depends on the team as well. Contavious Caldwell Pope, I don't think is the strongest option, but things didn't quite go exactly as planned for me as I was going. So I ended up just saying, screw it. Maybe he'll get hot in the finals. It could work out. But you can see here, I built the Nuggets for Nuggets and Knicks, Nuggets in Miami. I have just one player from Milwaukee, but I've got 4 from the Nuggets. So 4 from the Nuggets, 1 from Milwaukee. You can see I've got a couple from Miami now, and then Trae Young from Atlanta I included also. So anyway, that was my first draft. I think it's okay. I think it's better than a lot of people do, because a lot of people don't factor in like final stuff at all. I also do think it is maybe a little bit. It's one thing I'm always worried about is, am I just falling into the most common builds? I think it's really easy sometimes to just go with, great, now I got Jokic. These 2 Nuggets players come back around the right ADP. I'm building up a Nugget stack. It's easy to do that, but sometimes you want to think about maybe as you're building more drafts. And I think this is a common thing later on in doing these drafts. People get a little bit more unique in their builds after they've done a few. So this is I think is a decent enough first draft. You can let me know in the comments if you disagree, but I thought it went okay. And then the second draft I did, this one I started with a Sixers stack. So I'll show you that one. So I had the 5th pick in this one. I think Embiid is actually a little bit of a steal here. Centers, and I don't want to say this, centers are the scarcest position, I believe, in these drafts. It's hard to really have an elite center just because there's not going to be that many elite centers in the playoffs. So I was pretty lucky here to have Embiid come to me at the 5th pick, especially when you look at some of these, I guess 20% chance of making the finals. Not that incredible, but that's not too bad. And then this one, they've got I guess just 14%. So yeah, maybe the Sixers not the likeliest, but one of the likelier teams to make the finals. So that made it pretty easy taking Embiid, and then of course fell into the same trap of taking Harden. He has an ADP of 10.2. I took him with pick 8, so I've got my two Sixers right away. I was also thinking there. I knew that Tyrese Maxey is going pretty late. He's been taking on a bigger role for the Sixers, so I kind of wanted to force in Tyrese Maxey. Things again did not go exactly according to plan for me in this draft. I started with those two, and then I really was hoping to start at Denver. I was actually really hoping for Aaron Gordon. That didn't work out. He went out the pick before me, so I was kind of last second a little bit flustered. I ended up going with started my Phoenix stack. So I got Ayton and Chris Paul. One thing I don't love about this is now I've drafted 4 players and 0 wings. So I've got 2 bigs, 2 guards. That's it with my first picks. But some solid contributors could work out. And then going down, I decided to go with. I actually was hoping that Michael Porter Jr. would fall back to me here. Didn't happen. So I ended up going with Paul George just to get a wing in there. Somebody who's going to get me some points in the first round. Obviously has a shot to make it to the finals also. Then I went with Maxi again as planned, just a couple picks ahead of ADP. So now I've got 3 Sixers players. And then with my next pick, again, I did the same thing, made it easy on myself, took 4 players from the Sixers. They're probably better contributors than Tobias Harris here, but just the way the draft fell, there was nobody that I really loved from any of the Western Conference teams that I wanted more than Tobias Harris. So I just decided, screw it, I'm going to go with throw him in there in part because I wanted to have a wing in the finals if the Sixers get there. So I took Tobias Harris there. Again, probably falling for the trap of builds that are going to be similar to other people. But I got those 4 main Sixers with Harden, Maxey, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. And then it's a nice setup if it comes back to Phoenix being the other team in the finals. I got Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, very strong contributors. And then I ended up building out Golden State as well. Andrew Wiggins there, then took Jordan Poole. And then I closed it out with, if it's the Clippers going up against the Sixers, now I've got Paul George and Russell Westbrook. So again, not the worst draft. I think it's an okay starter kind of draft where I've got, if the Sixers make it to the finals against any of these teams, and of course my team has to get through, then it's going to be looking pretty good. They've got a number of different ways it could go where I could have the correct finals with Phoenix, Golden State, or the Clippers on the comeback. So it's an interesting one. I don't know. Maybe my drafts will evolve over time, but I thought these were a couple decent drafts to start out. Again, let me know in the comments if you disagree. I hope you found this a little bit helpful. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to go to the comments, ask questions there. Let us know what you think, what kind of content you want. We are open to doing content as people want. If there's things you don't know about that you want to know a little bit more about, we're here to answer any questions. So hope you found this helpful and good luck.